all right. Here we are. First Sunday in December 2017. We are here live in the studio with this very, very special segment sponsored by Walter E. Huff and the Huff Real Estate Team. Walter is here live in the studio, and I must say this. You are not alone when it comes to buying or selling your home. And Walter's here live in the studio, 303-433-8000. That's 303-433-8000. Here live in the studio. Walter, thank you for being here this first Sunday in 2017.
First Sunday, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow. Where's the time going by?
Man, tick.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to say thank you for joining us today on this first Sunday in December. And as we always start off our show, we give in praise and honor to our Jehovah God, who makes this whole thing possible, this very moment possible.
Yes, sir.
We thank him for his grace and mercy, the grace that we're breathing in and the grace that we're breathing out. And so we just want to say thank you, and thank you for joining us today. And you're in for a really good show today. And
yes, sir.
I have two special guests. Well, actually, two special friends of mine. Today we have in studio, we have Myra Donovan. And Myra's been a guest of ours a couple times. And Myra is a certified financial planner for Eagle Strategies, LLC, which is a subsidiary of New York Life Insurance. And I know everybody's heard about New York Life Insurance, right? Yeah. And my special guest and friends is Michelle Adams. Michelle's an attorney and counselor at law at the law offices of Michelle Adams. And so I'm going to turn to my right and say hello, Myra.
Hey, Walter.
How are you?
Thank you for having me back.
Oh, yeah, it was a pleasure having you back. And can you tell our audience a little bit, refresh their memory about who you are, where you're from, and why you love doing what you do?
Okay, great. Well, I'm from Houston, Texas, but I've been in Denver, fell in love with Denver right when I was graduating high school. So I've been here a long time. I won't give you the exact number of years, but it's a long time.
Right.
I love it here. But, and I graduated from University of Denver with a degree in accounting. And so I did that whole corporate thing for a long time. And then, I wasn't satisfied. I kept searching, kept changing jobs, looking for something, wasn't sure. And then a good friend of mine who I'd gone to school with introduced me to the idea of financial planning. And in my mind, it was like, wow, this may be exactly what I've been looking for, because it pulls together a lot of the things that I like to do. But it was a major paradigm shift in terms of, structure and compensation and things like that. It's like, okay, well, I guess it's time for me to put my money where my mouth has been. So I need to step into it and do it. So that's how I got here. And here we are 27 years later. I've been doing it in the same place with Eagle Strategies, New York Life. That's an anomaly these days, I think. But it's been a wonderful ride. And I decided when I came into this business that I wanted to work with African-American women particularly, because I know that when I had dealt with financial services people on my own, there was this little bit of they didn't really take you seriously and had an attitude. So it's like, surely there's a better way. I'm giving you my money, so I need a little bit more. So I thought maybe I could bring something to the table that was familiar and a lot easier, fewer obstacles for people to have to climb over in order to achieve their, move towards their goals financially. So I am so happy with what I do. I love what I do, and I'm hoping to continue to do it for a long time too.
Well, sure. I know a lot of times when I'm out in the community and talking with people, and your name comes up as a very trusted financial advisor, and I just want to say thank you.
I got a lot of people on the payroll.
Okay, there you go. That's okay. As long as you're paying them, that's all right. That's all right. Also, to my left, I have a special friend and guest again, Michelle Adams, an attorney and counselor at law. Michelle, welcome.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here.
Michelle, well, you're on the spot. I was sharing last week that you were going to be here, and this is a part of our initiative creating 2 million new black homeowners in the next 5 years. The third major component of that initiative is creating, building, sustaining home wealth through home ownership, protecting your assets. Give us a little background. Tell the audience about you.
Sure. So, Michelle Adams. I am originally from New York. Most people can't hear that New York accent.
I can hear it.
Daughter and call. When I say those two, or in coffee, those three words usually will bring it out. But I've been here now for 20 years. So, and I used to joke and tell people, well, if you've been here 10 years, you can claim native status. I might as well, but I'm still a New York girl at heart. So, yeah. I came into this world quite accidentally. I always think, because I was a criminal justice major, and my goal was not to do anything in the financial arena. It was to do more public service work in the criminal world, or criminal justice world. And you tell God what you're going to do, and he laughs, and he's like, nope, I got a different plan for you. So my first job out of college as a criminal justice major was working for a financial services company, and I had taken maybe one financial type of class that whole time I was there. So it was very interesting, but it led the way to learning more about my finances and the importance of making sure that we set that foundation, get things in order, and then as a result, and it's just life where, you know, the cycle of life where people come and they go, and you see where they've prepared and some folks who have not prepared. And that sensitized me to the need to make sure that we're doing a better job at making sure that we're making plans, not only for end of life, but also if something should happen to us, if we were to become disabled, because that's really what estate planning is. Most people think about it as, oh, a will, and it's so much more than that. And we can talk about that, you know, as the show goes on. So I got into this world, and it's just been amazing, because for me, it's about being able to proactively work with families to help them plan for the inevitable, because there's nothing worse than something happens and then family drama and conflict, and my role is to try to minimize that to the greatest extent possible, and that brings me a lot of joy. And just the stories that I hear from my clients, whether they are seniors and, you know, 80 plus years old, but I also have a lot of young clients, which I love, and everyone needs an estate plan, and we'll talk a little bit about that too.
Everyone needs an estate plan.
Yes, sir.
One thing that we want to really emphasize on today's show is planning, and also the value of a financial advisor. I want our listening audience to grab your Bible and pick up Proverbs 15 and 22. Proverbs 15 and 22 states, plans fail for the lack of counsel, but with many advisors, they succeed. And so we want you to concentrate on, we're coming up in a new year, and I know you probably did a lot of that Black Friday sales and believe it was intentional. I mean, now they're going to sell you on Christmas, and a lot of our community is going to be in financial credit rehab for the next year, because they just are not being responsible. They are not being disciplined, good stewardship in their finances. And, you know, Myra, I'm going to turn to you. I remember you talked about at a seminar about the 10 most commonly money mistakes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so, you know, sometimes when you mention financial planning to people, you know, the eyes start to roll back in their heads, and they start having these, you know, very complex visions of what that entails and involves. But it's really very simple. And, you know, I've come to identify, you know, some areas that tend to be trends among our community and among people in general, but especially in our community, where we sometimes can get ourselves in trouble. So one of the big things is procrastination. I know that, you know, nobody themselves does that, right? But we all know people who do that, you know.
Not me. Not you.
No, not me. You know, but we put off until tomorrow what should have been done yesterday.
Right.
And that covers estate planning, that covers financial planning, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I find that that's really one of the biggest areas. You know, we have this, we know we should be doing something, but it somehow makes it to the back burner, and, you know, other things get in front of it. Sometimes it's fear. You know, we're not sure that we want to really know the truth about what we look like financially. You know, we're not opening our mail. We're not looking at the bills. You know, we're not answering the telephone. We're hiding. You know, we're stressed. So fear, and I find that sometimes the information, which is ironic because today information is everywhere. We're almost on information overload. So you can do your own financial plan if you want to, but I find that people just are paralyzed because of the either lack of information or too much information. So procrastination is a big deal.
Procrastination, and I have to say that's with a capital P. I know in our community we want to do a better job, and we can do a better job.
Yeah, we can.
And so through NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, the churches are starting to embrace our message, our narrative of being better stewards of financial planning, being better steward in handling our financial situation. Michelle, I'm going to turn to you now. You had mentioned just a few minutes ago, estate planning is just as important for the younger generation as it is the older generation. Break that down for us further.
Yes. So I always tell people, and sometimes people look at me a funny kind of way when I say that as young as 18. And why 18? Because at that age, you're now an adult. And so mom and dad who are used to being able to make decisions for their children when they were minors, they no longer have legal authority to do that. And so if something should happen to Junior while they were away, then we want to make sure that someone has the ability to make healthcare decisions for that individual as well as financial decisions. Now, that person may not have a lot of money. Not a lot of 18, 19-year-olds have a lot of money, but it's not just about the money. It's about healthcare decisions. And one of the biggest things that came up about 2 years ago when Whitney Houston's daughter, Bobby Christina, went into that coma. And so here she is, 20, 21 years old. No one's thinking at that age, oh, I need to have medical documents in place. But here she is in a situation where now someone has to make that really heart-wrenching decision as to, do we keep her on life support or do we take her off? And for most people, that is a really hard decision to do for your child. I mean, it's hard enough for you to make the decision for yourself, and we're going to err on the side of let's keep them alive for as long as possible, which is in many cases just prolonging the inevitable. And so it's critically important that at 18, everyone has a plan in place. It's not something just for seniors. And I love, Myra, that you started off with procrastination, because for some reason, not only do people not want to make financial plans, but they think they're not going to die.
Right.
Or get hurt.
Yes. None of us are getting out of this earthly realm, alive. So we need to have some kind of plan in place so that we're preparing the next generation for what is to come.
Absolutely. We see this more than I like to see in our community. Our community are passing away without wills, passing away thinking that their property is entitled certain joint tendency.
And they're leaving a big hot mess.
Oh,
amen.
I've worked with families where the spouse thought that he or she was also named as title on the property, and it turned out they were not. And then it was now a matter of going to probate, because you can't just pass property if it's not titled properly to the next person. So it really is a matter of having those conversations and making decisions and documenting those decisions.
Absolutely. And what we're talking about is creating, protecting, sustaining wealth through home ownership. And I'm going to turn to Myra, because Myra, all this plays in together.
Yes.
Now, as we know, appreciation, home values is rising exponentially here in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And particularly our baby boomers, our active community. A lot of our baby boomers own their homes free and clear. Mm-hmm. What would you advise a baby boomer who wants to move up, has enough cash to has enough money to buy a replacement home for cash and still have some money left over? What would you suggest how can they leverage the advantage of being in a position to have all this equity in their homes and, having all this cash?
Well, certainly, contrary to popular opinion, financial planning is not a one-size-fits-all.
Right.
So that's why I like to have a one-on-one conversation with a person right off the bat. And that is complimentary. I don't charge for that. And it's really just some time for us to kind of get to see what you're trying to achieve, what your goals are, what your objectives are, what you have to work with. And then that way I can formulate some ideas and some recommendations that are based on what you're trying to accomplish. So there's not really, there's not a right or wrong answer.
Sure.
There are certainly a lot of options and ways to go with that. But, sometimes people need additional income, supplemental income, and there are plans and programs for that. Sometimes people just want to save to grow their money for the future. Sometimes they want to leverage that money and make it bigger through life insurance for either their family or for charity. So there are a lot of options and things that go along with that. So if you have someone who's in that position, I would just say call Myra Donovan at...
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We'll give you the phone number later.
Yes.
Now, I've been reading a lot of resources about the election of when to take Social Security, and how does that fit into your financial planning? Can you?
Yeah, I work with a lot of people who are trying to prepare for retirement. So they're in their 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Most people are like, well, I want to take Social Security as soon as I am able to, which is 62. And so we have a sit down and a come to Jesus meeting sometimes around that because, when you take your money at 62, you're getting, 75% of what you would get if you waited to your full retirement age, which for most people, most baby boomers, is going to be 66. So, there may be some other, if you really need to leave your job at 62 because it's driving you crazy, you're babbling and drooling, you got issues, health issues or mental issues now because of it, then that's you certainly need to leave. But you may also have some other resources that can fill the gap and buy you some time so that you can have more money longer. So if you can fill that 4-year gap between 62 and 66, and that could be from other savings and investments or other resources, then that will put you in a better spot because women especially tend to live a lot longer than their men. So, that means that we're going to need money a lot longer. So the more we have available, the better we're going to be.
We're in the studio here, and we have a combination of close to 27.
No, that's that math.
27, 50. We have close to 80 years of experience in our assorted
Yes.
profession.
Can you say that?
Somebody's
one more time?
old.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if I like that number.
Somebody's old around here.
Right?
I don't know who.
KLDC, listen, we have in our midst close to 80 years of experience as financial advisors. You need to take advantage of this. And we want to send out that call-in number if you have any questions right now at 303-433-8000. Myra and Michelle, we've met a couple times earlier this year, and we are formulating a community education platform. And Michelle, you had mentioned at our couple of meetings what you see in our community, what's important about is estate planning. What are you seeing as concerns in our community that we need to be better at?
The biggest one is waiting until the last minute to make changes or to make any type of plan. And that's the worst thing we can do, because I always tell people it's so much easier if we're proactive with our planning than to have to eventually go to court and pay a whole lot of money because we didn't put those plans in place. And I know it sounds like it's a big deal and it's going to take a long time, but the best thing I hear from the people that I work with is, you made it easy. I didn't think it was going to be this easy. And for various reasons, people have it in their mind, like they do with financial planning, that it's hard, it's complicated, it doesn't apply to me. But when we sit down and we have those individual conversations so that I can understand what the goals and objectives are and break it down, it's just baby steps. But you have to take one of those baby steps in order to move this thing forward.
So we want to keep moving the needle little
Yes.
bit by little bit. It's so important right now, saints of God, listen community, that we get in position to possess the land through home ownership. And we are so excited that you're joining us. I am joined today by Myra Donovan, a registered investment advisor with Eagle Strategies, LLC, a subsidiary of New York Life Insurance. Also, the law office of Michelle Adams. We are here to support you, to answer any of your questions. You have professionals right in your community. And so we want you to reach out to us. We're here to help you. Also, I want to talk about some information that Myra Donovan had provided me earlier this year. The opportunity to empower the African American market. Myra, can you explain a little bit to our listening audience, what's the background of that through New York Life Insurance?
Well, New York Life started an initiative probably a couple of years ago, and the initiative was to increase wealth in the African American community by $50 billion over the next 5 years. And so
All right. Hey, man, lifting
Jesus higher and higher.
And higher.
Yes.
Man, we are back here live in the studio with Walter E. Huff, Miss Myra Donovan, Miss Michelle Adams here live in the studio. Hey, we have a little bit more time. 303-433-8000, 303-433-8000. They don't want me to put this number out, but to get experience to almost 80 years of experience here in the station. Thank you for being here. Sorry for putting that number out.
That's all good. That's all good. I just want to say thank you for joining us. And since we're almost at the end of our show, I'm gonna turn to Michelle. Can you give us some lasting information, advice that you would like the listening audience to know?
Sure. So, two things. One, the major documents, that's always a question I have, or people have. What are the documents that I absolutely need? And so I say there are 5. You need a will, you need powers of attorney for your finances and for your medical. You need a living will, and a living will is a form of an advance directive which directs people as to end-of-life decisions. You need a HIPAA release, and then you want to make sure that you have your statement of last remains, which is, do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? So you want to make sure you have your will, powers of attorney, financial, medical, HIPAA release, and your living will. Those 5 documents. The last thing that I want to say is, so often we throw around the word legacy, and people hear the word legacy and they think, again, I have to be uber rich, I have to have all this money, who am I, little Michelle Adams, to leave a legacy? Well, I remind folks that your legacy is what you do every day. It's your words, it's your thoughts, it's your actions that you live out, and whether you want to or not, you are leaving a legacy. So be very intentional about how it is that you're doing it. And I'm super passionate about families in particular, and them creating a legacy that will last for multiple generations. And if it's monetary and it's wealth creation, wonderful. And attached to that are, what values are you passing down? What things are, what intangible pieces are you passing down to that next generation, so that they know, here's how I should walk, here's how I should talk, here's how I should be living my life in memory of those who have come before me.
And the point is, it's never too late.
Never too late.
Never too late.
We are here. We are living. Every day is a brand new day. Now, don't keep putting those days off.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
But do something.
I highly, highly encourage you to call Michelle. Michelle, will you give your number and your website out again?
Sure. It's 720-432-9685. And the web address is coloradofamilylegacy.com. And I also do free initial consultations. So even if you have a question, you're not sure what your next steps are, call me and we'll set up time to talk, and I can walk you through it.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Miss Myra, can you give our community some nuggets for them to ponder and absorb this week?
Sure. So if your financial plan is Black Hawk or Central City, then please call me. We need to talk. That might be a plan, but it probably is not plan A.
Yes.
Okay? So it's very important that we kind of get our understanding and get away from unrealistic expectations, because sometimes we get caught up in the get rich quick schemes. I mean, they're rampant. People are trying to do scams every day, and there's always a way for you to make quick money. But when it really comes down to it, we have to do it the old-fashioned way. We have to save, and that's the big word in financial planning. Save a part of what you make. I always say that if you went back to when when you started working, and if you had a dime out of every dollar that you made, where would you be today?
A dime.
A dime.
On a Caribbean island somewhere.
Owning the island, yes. Yeah. So, saving is powerful. Saving and investing. So that's a very critical, but it's a mindset and it's a discipline. You have to shift the way you think and the way you look. We spend good. We know how to spend, but we haven't quite gotten that over to saving yet. But saving is a very critical part. The other part of financial planning is making sure that you have taken care of your risk. And those risks are if you get sick, make sure you have health insurance. If you have a car, make sure you have auto insurance. If you're living in a house, make sure you have homeowners insurance. If you're renting, make sure you have renter's insurance. If you are, make sure you have liability insurance in case you get sued because you have an automobile accident or something comes up that you're being sued for. We live in a very litigious society these days. So, and amazingly, liability insurance is very cheap. I don't sell liability insurance, but it's $200 to $300 a year for $1 million of coverage to protect your assets, which is what we're talking about here. We want to make sure that if you get sick or injured, you have some way to make sure you have income that's going to still come in. That's called disability income protection. Okay. So, sometimes a lot of these things are offered at work, until where you are. So make sure you understand what your employer offers. And if you have gaps, then fill that in on your own. And if you're not sure if you have gaps, then that's when you talk to somebody.
Okay.
So it's important to make sure that we have life insurance just in case that we die too soon. Yes. We don't know when we're going to go. So, it's always nice to have some dollars available so that we don't have to pass the hat, or I guess pass the hat is old now. You do the GoFundMe page. Yes, that's a new hat.
Yes.
So why would we want to add that level of stress to an already very difficult situation? So, it doesn't take a whole lot. You just have to, the hardest part is to start.
It's to start.
And with us, it's picking up the phone or checking out the website.
Absolutely. Myra, will you let our listening audience know how can they get a hold of you?
I can be reached at 303-871-7249 or MyraDonovan.com.
Okay. Well, there we have it. We want to say thank you for tuning in this Sunday. And by all means, we're going to be back. I'm going to have Myra and Michelle back because we just want our community to just enhance what you're doing now. Get started. It's never too late, but we've got to make a move. If we're going to position ourselves, as my dad always tells me, the separation is created by the preparation. And so we want you as a community. We've been hearing about all this stories about gentrification, but we can stabilize the community by getting a grip of our finances. And so I just want to, Myra, thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
And so if the Lord delay his coming, we'll be right back next Sunday. Thank you for being here.
All right, there you have it. That's Walter E. Huff, Walter E. Huff, the Huff Real Estate Team. Hey, you guys, it's never too late. Get in contact with Miss Myra Donovan, 303-871-7249, or Miss Michelle Adams, hey, 720-432-9685. Hey, y'all, it's never too late. Let's get in contact with these. I got to give Walter's number. Walter Huff, 303-785-42. Oh, hold on, Walter. All right. Wait a minute, that's not good. Walter, this is a number here. Let's go 720-298-9095. I'll put that number out there.
Okay, that's right.
A good number?
That's
okay,
a good number.
I don't know why I don't have that number in my head.
Yeah.
Hey, but we want to thank you for tuning in this Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All right, groove.